Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Wherever you're watching us from, we just want to appreciate you for coming over today. And as we all know, today is a great day that we have a presentation that gives you the opportunity to have the access to education here in America, where you can, be channeled, be put through, where things can be made easy. So as you can see on the flyers that we are having get admission into the US for your master's, MBA, and PhD. And that's why we are here. So to know more, to tell you a lot of things. So without wasting much of our time, I'll be introducing our guest speaker, and I'll be introducing the host speaker, which is which is Victor Adigwe. So let me just tell you a little bit about Victor Adigwe. So Victor Adigwe is a student in Tufts University. So he's a mechanical engineering, student, PhD student. So he have been here for a while and know a lot of things that, it's the host of this program today. He knows much and is able to, willing and we're able to put you through and make things, work well for you. Also, one of those speakers that will be introducing today is Lukman Fashino, also a PhD student. These are intelligent people, they know much better. And this man is in geography and sustainability and in the University of Tennessee. So he's one of the speakers we are having today. And it's ready to answer all your questions and, to give you a lot of information, and is even ready to, to make things work out with you. So also, we have a lady here, Oluwaseun and Morua, the PhD student, so from medical sociology, meaning that not just only one field of study. We have different kind of field of study that maybe is a challenge to you that, oh, will I have any opportunity in this, my field of study? So we have various, and, field of study that, you can ask questions and, that we can put you through. So she's a PhD student, medical sociology, University of Alabama. So she will be, helping us out today, answering your question. And want to tell you, you're welcome, ma'am. Also here tonight, we want to welcome Mr. Tunde Blessing Shunde, the PhD student from University of Florida. His field is material science and chemistry. So in case your discipline or your field is in chemistry, you have a able hand to answer your question and, to, get the right information you need. You're welcome, Mr. Tunde. Also, we have a lady also here, Mrs. Toyosi Olula, a PhD student too, Department of Communication. If that's your discipline, we have a well-able person to answer your question. She is in University of North Dakota. So here you're welcome, Mrs. Toyosi. And the last but not the least, we have our MBA student here, Musa. Permit me, I don't want to, mess up with your name. So, Obafwa. So, I'm sorry, I apologize if I didn't pronounce it right, but, we'll be hearing good from you. Is in University of Colorado, and his major is product and business management. Also, the speaker, the one that is moderating today is Mr. Femi Adelegon. I mean, let me just limit myself like that. So maybe in a long way, all the information will be given out. So once again, you're all welcome today, and it's a great, privilege and opportunity for you. I want you to take, full benefit of this program. Information is powerful. If you have the right information, you are good to go. So please pay attention. Have some dirty materials, just write something and make sure you ask question. And please, we are all adults, so please, we want us to well coordinate, and mute yourself if you know the environment in which you are is kind of noisy. And you can also send your message, we can read, and we can answer your questions. So without wasting much of our time, I hand over to the host speaker, the first person, Victor Adigwe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Femi. Thank you so much. Um, Welcome to Hack the Process webinar. Why are we here? This is a webinar to help us understand what is required for us to further our studies. So you graduate from university, your undergrad, and you want to proceed to do a master's or MBA or PhD. We are here to tell you exactly how to go about that. So we We are presenting these under the auspices of VicAde Consulting. We are a US-based firm. We provide premium admissions consulting services to those who want to study abroad, especially in the US. That's essentially who we are. Next slide. So there are some services we provide. We provide standardized test resources and mentoring. So we are going to see the process of getting through the admissions application process. And it involves writing tests. It involves writing what we call the statement of purpose and crafting your resume. We also have an important step, especially for PhDs, which is the researching of advisors and then corresponding with admissions office assistants. The application itself can be cumbersome, and it's important that one gets everything right. We offer career counseling as well for those who are not exactly sure of what they want to do, how they want to move ahead in their careers. We provide that, and we also have an extensive network of friends and collaborators who are willing to help. We we believe in convenience, professionalism, speed, and expertise. So these are the things that form our values, and we believe in giving the very best to people. So I am one of the founders, and it's my pleasure to be in this webinar to show us the way. So we are very much concerned about the success of your application more than any profits. In fact, we have been doing this for free for many people who have been successful. And right now it's time for us to launch in a bigger way. And we're offering this consultancy service to many more people. Next slide. So yes, we're delving right away into what the application process entails. So there's a quote here by Stephen. It says, "No path will appear too long or nerve-wracking if there is an abiding focus on the end and an indissoluble gaze on your why." So how does the process work? The very first thing is to know exactly what you are doing, know where you are going. There's a quote that says, if you don't know where you are going, you will not get there, or any destination will look like the right destination. So you have to define a clear career path. You have to know exactly what you want to study and why, and have an idea of what you're going to do after graduation. That is really important, because some people just come and they're like, oh, I want to do a master's in public health, or I want to do nursing, I want to do communications, I want to do mechanical engineering. And they actually don't have a clear idea of what they want to do with the degree. So it's important to do some background research on what the career looks like, and you define the career path. After that, you do what is called the school search. So there are three questions that you need to answer. First question is, what school has the course that I want to study? What school has the course? The second one is, will they admit me? How competitive I am with regards to the other clients, other applicants? And the third question is, do they have money to fund me? So does this school have the course that I'm going for? What are my chances of getting admitted? And how rich is the school in terms of funding so that it can fund my master's or my PhD? So it's also important to get our documents correctly. Unfortunately, for those of us who are joining this webinar from Nigeria, we are well aware of the situation with the universities, the public universities, and the ASU strike. So the very first thing for those who are in public universities that you need to work on, as soon as the strike ends, although I think the non-academic staff university non-academic staff of the universities may be working, is to try to get your transcripts. That should be the very first step. You have to try and get your transcripts. And well, I'm assuming you already have an international passport. So you get an international passport, you apply for your transcript. The transcript can take a while, and you begin to compile your recommendation letters. You begin to tell your professors, your research advisor or your project supervisor, some classes where you excelled, and some professors who, let me say, the professors who liked you when you were in school. You begin to tell them, hey, I'm planning to apply to school. Please, I would like your recommendation when the time comes. So it's good to give them a heads up even before you start the application so that they are aware. So when you ask for the recommendation letter, they are already primed to expect that request from you. So you also have to work on your GRE. So it's a score. Looking at the GRE score, you can't get the score, of course, without taking the exam. You have to work on your resume. You also have to work on your publications for some writing samples. It depends on the course you are going for. So these are the documents you need to put together, documents and standardized tests. So you write the GRE, which is known as the Graduate Record Examination, and TOEFL. That's the test of English as a foreign language. Some schools collect the IELTS, and some schools also take the Duolingo English test, DET. The good thing, okay, someone said he or she cannot hear anything being said. Please, if you can hear me, can you kindly type in the chat, you can hear or say yes. I want to be sure that people can hear. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, yes. So those who cannot hear, the problem is probably from your end. Kindly see how to resolve that. You can leave the meeting and join again. Maybe that will help. Thank you so much, everyone, for your replies. So yes, the very first part of the whole thing is to define an objective. Where do you want to go? Then you ask yourself, which schools can accommodate me? And then you get together your documents and you write your exams. And then there's a process of cold mailing. So cold mailing is you identify some schools and some potential PhD supervisors, and you cold email them. You ask them, hey, I'm interested in what's going on in your lab. Is there any opening? Would you be willing to consider hiring a new student? There are templates for all these things. And finally, we have the actual application. So the actual application is basically a form, an online form. For those of us, if you are lucky, your school will use a centralized application system. So I know for engineering, there is a system called the Engineering CAS, Engineering CAS. That's the Engineering Centralized Application System. This may exist for other courses as well. So you basically fill in the basic details that you would need to fill in for the applications to one school, and multiple schools can get it. You can apply to multiple schools by just filling in the application for one school. You will only need a few fields that are different for each school. So right now, without further ado, we are going to move to the panel discussion. Most of us are here because we have many of our speakers, the panelists who are from diverse backgrounds. So we're going to start with the order that's on the flyer, and I am going to hand over to Miss Temitope Emoruwa. So she's going to share with us her thoughts and tips on how to apply for grad school. Thank you, Ms. Tope.
Thank you, Victor. So I'm going to be speaking about applications in the social sciences, since that's where my field is. So I am in medical sociology, and my research interest is in immigrant health and just social determinants of health. So I think the first mistake I think most people make would be to not be intentional about the school search. I think the school search is like the most important thing you could do when you want to apply. Most people just like go online and just see, maybe someone posted on Twitter like, oh, here are schools offering sociology or here are schools waiving GRE and then they just apply to those schools. But I feel like that's not how to go about it. So the first thing before even school search is to look at your life trajectory. Like you could sit down and look at your transcripts from if you have a student copy of your transcripts and kind of look at the courses you did while you were in school. Because I know for undergraduate students, you have to like take different classes from different areas of concentration in your field, which means that you probably have a little bit of everything. So in my own case, I'll use myself as an example. When I was doing everything I did, there was no pattern to it. It wasn't deliberate. It was just coincidental. But I looked at my transcripts and I saw that for courses that I did in health sociology, I did well in them. Like it was good. And then for my NYSC, coincidentally, I served at a teaching hospital in OAU. And then my master's was in medical sociology. None of it was planned. But then I realized that I have enough pattern, like a strong pattern to kind of tell my story to the admission committee that I am interested in health sociology or medical sociology. And so once you figure out that strong pathway that you have, everyone has it. You just have to sit and think about it very well. Once you figure that out, the next step is school search. Now, I have a long process that I use for my school search. Some people complain it's too long, but I think that it's best to invest your time and be thorough so that you can get something. So what I do is I get a journal, like a jotter or something, and then if you if you check Wikipedia, there's a list of all 50 states in the US listed in alphabetical order. So you would maybe want to write down those 50 states in alphabetical order. I know it's a lot, but it worked for me and most of my people. So you would pick these states, like for instance, Alabama is the first state alphabetically, and then look at the public universities. Some states have maybe 5, 6, 7 public universities that offer PhD or masters. And then I look at the academic programs they have for each of these public universities. Once I see sociology, case it could be political science or psychology or economics, almost all schools have these programs. It's quite common. Then what you want to do is look at the department description of their major areas of research interest. That's the key. For me, if I just see that a department does not have any expertise in health or medical sociology, then I'm off. The school is off my list. And so that's kind of that's like a summary. I'm trying to not go too much into details because of time, but like that's a summary of how you do school search. You just don't apply to a school just because they have sociology or political science. You have to be sure that what you're going to argue in your SOP, that is your interest, is actually what the department is doing. So I think the key to really getting a high chance of getting admitted is to make sure that your research interest is a strong fit with the department, with one of the department's area of research interest. And so the next important thing I think is the statement of purpose, the SOP. Your SOP needs to read like a story, not story like, oh, my father told me this or when I was young, not that kind of story. I mean, there needs to be a pattern to it. Like, okay, for my undergrad, this was what I did. These are the questions, the research questions that I'm curious about. This is what I've done so far. This is what I hope to do in the future. They need them, because most times when I review people's SOP, it's like disjointed, like it reads like a CV, like, oh, I've done this, I've done that, oh, I've done this, I want to do, like, there's no strong fit between your profile and what the department is doing. And I think that's the number one reason why most people get rejected. Then the next most important thing would be your writing sample. Now, for people in STEM, I don't think they do writing sample, but we in humanities and social sciences, we do that a lot. Like almost all schools will request for that. So for writing sample, some schools will request for maximum of like 20 pages of a writing sample. It's usually something academic that you've written. It could be your undergraduate research project, final year research project, or it could be if you have a master's, from your master's thesis, you could use a chapter or 2 chapters. If they ask for 20 pages, that's why you need to be sure of what the department is asking for specifically. If they ask for 20 pages, then find ways to reduce, to kind of like extract some things from what you have already, while some will not specify. So if they do not specify, you could either put your chapters 1 to 3 of your project or the whole work. In my own case, I've done 2 application circles. Now, when I was in Nigeria, I applied with my master's thesis. I just converted to PDF and uploaded, and that was good to go. But the second time around, when I was applying to grad schools, I used something I wrote in class, like just something I wrote for a course. It was 20 pages, and I think it was also good to go. So I know most people have issues with what should they write a sample be. It doesn't have to be a publication, like something that is published. If you have a publication and you want to use it, it has to be sole authored, like you need to be the only author of that publication for it to count as a writing sample. But you don't need to use, it's not as big as people think it is. It's literally just, they just want to know if you can write, because we write a lot in social sciences, and so they just want to know that you'll be up to task when you get into the program. So one more thing, it's not compulsory to email professors for us, because most times the department is in charge of funding and admission, meaning that you rarely see a professor that has grants that you need to email and start begging to take you in. If you want to introduce yourself, I did that. I emailed some professors. I had some Zoom meetings, but honestly, none of it really mattered when admission was going to be decided on, in my opinion, because most of the schools that I even interviewed, that I had a Zoom call with some of the professors, I didn't even get into those schools. It was even schools where no one replied me. Those were the schools that gave me admission with funding. So I think you don't have to worry yourself about looking for a supervisor or an advisor in the social sciences. Just make sure, back to the first point, which is the most important one, make sure that what you want to do or what you claim that you want to do, because you could just pick something and that's not really what you want to do. When you come in here, there's freedom to change your research interest. Nobody's going to crucify you for that. So what you claim you want to do must be present in the department. They must, like, if you are interested in, let's say, criminology under sociology, you have to make sure that they have some professors, they call them faculty, with strong interest in criminology. And I think I'll end here just so I don't take too much time.
All right, thank you so much. Great pleasure to hear from you. I know you have a lot to just say, but with time limit, and that's why you get able to cut. But let me tell you, in case you're just watching us or joining us on the Zoom, it is VicAde Consulting. VicAde means like Victor Adeboye. So let me just tell you. So there's no prank here. So we are real, and let me tell you one thing. Like, it's possible for you to come to America and study with full fund scholarship. A lot of people are taking this advantage of it, and maybe it is your time. Maybe it's your turn now to take care, to take these advantages. And that's why the consulting service is open for you to make use and take advantage of. So without wasting much of our time, we just want to go straight to the next speaker. And here we have Mr. Tunde Blessed. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good to have all of you. So I think Timmy has said a lot about the application process. And what you said is, I think, is applicable to almost every field. But I think I would just want to emphasize on the SOP. So if you look at the application materials that you need to submit for a PhD or master's, basically you have the transcript, the GRE, the SOP recommendation letter. If you look at the transcript, you're already done with college. You can't do anything about it. That factor is beyond you. you have the control over the transcript again. It's done and done. So, and the GRE, I think some schools right now, they don't, a lot of schools with GRE. So in a lot of cases, that's not really a big factor anymore. So the two things you have control over right now is the SOP and the recommendation letter. So you want to take those two things very importantly. Those are the two factors that will distinguish you from others. So you want to take a very good care when you write your SOP. And I think Temi also said a lot about the SOP. But what I want to point out is the research experience. So if I ask a lot of people, have you done research before? Maybe undergrad, maybe those from Nigeria. So I think the answer would be maybe no, I don't think so. But a lot of you or a lot of us who did research during our undergrad, your project work, your last year in undergrad, I think you did a lot, like the 6 months or thereabout was focused on the project. And that's a very good research experience. And this is very critical, integral part of the application process. So when you write your SOP, you want to be able to tell your story, how you did that research. So because why is it important? Because when you come for a PhD program, you want to identify a problem, and you identify a problem in your project when you were doing your research, doing all of that. You want to tell your story that you were able to identify a problem identification. Also, you're able to design your experiment. You design your experiment, like in my case, undergrad, I work on water remediation. So how I identify the problem and the experimental design. So I also want to tell the result I got and the recommendation. So in all of this, you're telling the story on how you're able to like identify the problem, how you were able to solve it, like the experimental design, the result you got from all of this. Then along this process of doing the project, you're able to gather some skills, your technical skills. How are you going to make use of these technical skills in your next phase of life, which is the PhD you're applying for? So your SOP has to be coherent. So you want to be able to tell the story, your past, your present, and your future. It is very important. You have no control over your transcripts. You don't have no control, right? Like in GR, as I said earlier, most schools are waiving it. Your recommendation letter, you want to be able to identify those that can write good SOP for you. A good recommendation letter for you. You don't need the VC to write a good recommendation letter for you. Your project supervisor that you work with closely, that knows you, that can vouch for what you can do, that maybe probably is a doctor, will be better than your VC. So when you choose those that write recommendation letter for you, you want to be careful. You don't want to generalize recommendation letter. The two things that you have control over, let me repeat, you have control over your SOP and your recommendation letter. So you want to be very careful when you do this, when you write your SOP and when you choose your recommender. And I think that should be very helpful in the application process, not to take most of the time. I believe I'll be able to take questions after this session.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tunde Blessing. Mr. Tunde Blessing is studies materials and science chemistry. So I know it, in case you'll be hearing, and it's a lot just going on in your mind, like all SOP, all these things they've been mentioning. How can I go about it? That's this platform is open for you to, to get it started. Sometimes you need to work with a professional so that you don't waste time and you don't waste resources. And, that's why, the VicAde consulting office is open for you so that, you can get all the information you need. So going further, we have Mrs. Toyosi here, and she's a PhD student, communication, University of North Dakota. I now hand over to Mrs. Toyosi as she just gave us
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. My name is Toyosi Olola. I'm a doctoral student at the Department of Communications, University of North Dakota. My research interest is majorly on social media impact on mental health with a focus, doing it with a focus on media psychology and not just communications. Now, Temi has basically said most of what I want to say, so I would not want to repeat what she has said already. However, I think for the most part, for many people who are in the arts and humanities, a lot of us keep asking the same questions. Would I get funding in the arts and humanities, especially those of us who studied English, philosophy, literature, the likes? Yes, there is actually lots of opportunities for us. And I'm sorry, but the process for us is not as tedious for those in STEM. That's STEM, science, technical, engineering, and mathematics. And then I also look at it from this angle. Because the process is not as tedious, it's actually very tricky. Just like Blessed said, most universities now are waiving the GRE and the IELTS requirements. So because they are really waiving those requirements, they would consider other things like to give you admission. I would use this example. In the last admission for 2022 admission, I know lots of people who gain admission into communications, English, and the likes programs. They did not require them to do all of this. And they do not require you to talk to a professor. You don't need to email a professor. I did not email any professor. I did not even talk to the university. I just applied and I got the admission. What really stands out is, of course, your statement of purpose and, of course, your recommendation letter. I would like to also say that for us in the arts and humanities, most people maybe might not really have a professor that might really, stand in the gap and really write well for you. But say, for instance, you're in the communications field, you worked in the media, you work in a firm, your supervisors can actually write your recommendation letter and it will speak for you. I've had people who did not have any professor, any of their lecturers write recommendation letters for them, just people that they've worked with in whichever organization, even teachers, secondary school teachers, just the school principal write recommendation letters for them and they get in. What matters is the content of the letter, what they write in the letter, and you can you can let them know what you want them to put in the letter. So the content of the letter is really what matters. So don't think about, oh, I don't have a professor that can vouch for me or somebody that can speak for me. You can use literally, even some people have their pastors write for them and they still get in. So the content of the letter is really what matters, really what they want to see, what they want to look at. I had my pastor write my recommendation letter for me and one of my professors and a friend, and it worked because they wrote excellently on what they felt what they can vouch for me for. On the other side, I like to also mention, I know I will take questions at the end, but I also like to mention, especially for those of us who are in non-STEM, while you are looking for schools, I would mention specifically that you should not ignore schools in small places. You should not say, oh, this school is in an unknown town and I only want schools in the big cities like California, Florida, all the big places. Truth is, the schools in those small places will give you the funding. They need you. I would advise go to places where they need you. Because when you go to places where they need you, they will fight for you, they will speak for you, they will support you all the way, rather than going to a place where, well, it is what it is. And finally, your grade, whatever you graduated with. So for instance, you graduated in Nigeria with a second class lower and you feel maybe you might not get admission. Oh yes, you will, and you will get full funding. Yes. Well, I did not. I had good grade, but I know people who finished with very low grades and they still got in. They still got the full funding all the way. So your grade that you finish with in university should not be a determinant. You will still find your way in. I don't know if it's okay for me to mention one more thing. Finally, I also want to mention that your research interest, like Temi mentioned, sorry, I call her, like she mentioned already, your research interest matters. However, this is from my experience. What you want to come study in the US, like your research interest, does not necessarily have to be something somebody in the department is doing. What my research interest is totally unrelated with what my entire department is doing. Nobody in my department is doing what I am researching on. And everybody supports me because, well, it's innovative. They want new things. You might not know if what you're bringing into the department is an area that they are considering. So if you are doing that, if you are interested in that area, you might just be an answer to their prayers. So when you go online and you look through the professors' LinkedIn pages or their research interest, and you don't see anything related to what they are doing, but it is what you want to do, apply either way. You never, but for me, I know many people, I tell them, apply either way. At least I can count about 5 people who did what I did. None of what we are doing is related to what the professors are doing. And still, in fact, it was like special, they invited us specially to come because they want to be part of what we are doing. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I heard something that really, got my attention. Like, there's no, how poor you think you are, you will still get admission. Just take the right step and just follow the people that knows better. That's the way. Don't get deceived by people who does not even know what they're doing. So, and that's why this platform is available so that you can make use of it. So we just want to let you know that you can just send your question. I know a lot of questions going through your mind now. Please use our chat platform to ask for your question, and we can read it out and, ask your question. And even from the way they're speaking now, some questions, maybe they've answered the questions. So please take note and jot things down so that, we can also work together. So over to our next speaker. So our next speaker is Mr. Lukman. So he's a PhD in geography and sustainability. So it's from University of Tennessee. So I hand it over to Mr. Lukman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi, and thank you all. It's my pleasure to be here. So again, my name is Lukman Fashino. I'm a doctoral student in the geography program at UTK, and I do GIS, I do remote sensing, and I apply geospatial data science to studying wetlands, flood risk reduction, nutrition, or remediation in some basins within the US. So what grad school is like for me, I think just like previous speakers have mentioned, it's quite key you have your path clearly laid out in your mind, and of course have the end in mind, like what do I want to do with this, what do I want to achieve with this. So first of all, I would say grad school is fun if you like what you are doing in terms of the research question you are working on, or the research area you are working on, the advisor you are working with, and of course the facilities made available to you by your school. If one or a couple of these, are missing, trust me, it could not be the best of experiences. But like I said, it's going to be fun if you have some very supportive advisor, you love what you're doing, and you are in the best of learning environments. I think you are going to find grad school very enjoyable. And like I said, I cannot stress that part enough, the part of having a very supportive advisor. It can really make or mar, one's academic experience and even post-study experience as well. So what's unique about the application process, I would say I can talk to a very large extent on geosciences, earth sciences, geophysics, geography, GIS and stuffs. I would say don't do blind application. So this is more or less like direct opposite of what folks in social sciences do go through. Don't do blind application. Blind application in the sense that, okay, this school is offering my program, either master's or PhD, I trade my application. This other school is doing it without reaching out to at least one faculty who could possibly speak for you, who is, number one, going to be available during the term you want to get into that school, who secondly, even if it's going to be available for the time you are going to get in, who is likely to be available for the entire length or duration of your study, say 2 years or for masters, or 4 years or 3, 4, 5 years for PhD. Because if the person is going to be available next fall, but subsequent sessions is not going to be around, he or she is not going to be around, maybe on sabbatical or is retiring, then the chance of getting in, reduces. So get in touch for many reasons to potential research advisors. First, to determine if they are admitting students for the following year or for the following session in which you plan to get in. Second, possibly they have research grant or research project they are working on. And of course, make that connection as to what you want to do aligns with what they are doing. And the next point to that is, for my field, based on my experience, I realized that without research advisors' consent or sanction, when you throw in your application, they download your application, the review committee goes through it. The next thing they of course, they read through many things you've written in your SOP. They want to see 1 or 2 names you've mentioned in your SOP that you want to work with, that you've been in touch with, and that as possibly, in principle, say, I can work with you. So they want to see those names. They see those names, Professor, Dr. ABC. The next thing they do is, for my field, the next thing they do is they forward your name and your profile to this person. This guys or this folks said he or she has reached out to you. Do you know him or her? Are you willing to take him or her on? Or so those, yeah, and this person said yes or no. Trust me, CGPA doesn't, at that point, of course, CGPA, test score, everything, of course, have those ready if you can. But at that point, if you've not been in touch with that person, you are less likely to possibly get into any of those fields, in geosciences, geography and stuff like that. You are less likely. So the moment the advisor or the professor say, yes, he or she has reached out to me, I want him or her, I think the rest is formality. Trust me. If either it's 2-2 or whatever grade you've made, if you've been in contact with the person before, they've vetted your profile, they've, certified you that, okay, I can work with this student or with this candidate. So I think that's what I think is most important in my field. What gives an applicant an edge? I think I just described that, knowing your research interest, going through the faculty page, picking a couple of those, write them. And so from my experience, I would say, while I was doing grad school, I think I only did maybe 4 schools for my PhD. I only applied to 4 schools. Some people say maybe I applied to 10, 15, 20. Yeah, the number, yeah, good. But that wasn't my own strategy. My strategy was I wrote about 35 professors in different schools in the US and in Canada. Some replied, yeah, I love what you want to do. Sorry, I'm not going to be available for next session. Sorry, I don't have research grant. Some will say, sorry, at this point, my hands are full. So I got those responses before even say I'm doing blind application. And a couple of them said, okay, let's see, can we talk, set up a Zoom, did interview. Some, I responded to their call to say, okay, I have a research project I'm doing. I responded to it, sent in my CV, sent in my SOP, sent in my research statement. And I said, okay, let's do interview. We did interviews, maybe a couple of rounds of interviews. Some will say, okay, can I have so here I want to touch on what Pemi initially mentioned, that, folks in social sciences, get your writing sample ready, that, it's more of a must-have document. In sciences too, don't be surprised. When you are going through the route I just mentioned, you spoke to an advisor, a prospective advisor, they set up a Zoom interview with you. In my case, one of the professors I wrote told me, okay, I've heard you speak. I can certify that, of course, I'm very much pleased with your oral proficiency. Can I see your writing sample? So what I just did was, of course, a chapter, I think maybe a chapter of my thesis or a term project I wrote. I sent it to the person. The next he told me was, can I have 1 or 2 references of yours? I sent the professor my, references, details. I think I sent 2 or 3. He only called 1. He called the first person on phone. He spoke, okay, how is this guy? And that was it. Trust me. So the following week, the guy told me, okay, go and apply, and I'll be waiting to review your application. Eventually, of course, I didn't go to that school eventually, even though, of course, so I went to a different school. I'm in a different school. Virtually the same experience, even with the current school I have. So getting research advisor is quite key, right? So sending those cold mails, either solicited or unsolicited. Some professors do solicit. I have a research project I want to work on. You respond to it. Some don't have. In a case, I wrote a professor, I like this is what you are doing, this is what I want to do. I think there is a connect. The guy replied in about 30 minutes saying, yeah, what you are doing, I'm no longer working on it, but I have so and so project I'm working on. He sent me the whole proposal, he sent me the whole research problem thing. Do you have interest? I responded, yeah, I have interest. And of course, things progress from there. So there is actually no one way, but one sure way is in sciences, for instance, geoscience, like I did mention, please don't do blind application. Ensure you have a professor or two saying, go ahead and apply. I'm looking forward to reviewing your application. So that's, I think, one thing that can stand out, make your application to stand out and give you an edge in that very competitive market. So I would possibly want to pause there and be willing and ready to answer questions that folks might have in the course of the webinar. Thanks for your attention.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lukeman. Let me just borrow these words from Seneca. I say, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. This is a great opportunity. You've been preparing, you've been having a lot of plans, you've been trying to say, okay, I want to get into school. This is the opportunity you're having, and that's why we're here tonight, to give you a lot. So the last but not the least speakers here tonight is Mr. Noser. So he's an MBA student in product and business management from University of Colorado. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Femi. Hi, everyone. Like you said, my name is Nosa, and I'm currently an MBA student here at the University of Colorado Boulder. And just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I studied chemical engineering in Nigeria, and immediately after school, I decided, instead of going into chemical engineering, to focus on building an educational technology startup called Lenira. And I did that for about 2 years. Then at the point, I decided I wanted to come study in the US. And the schools I wanted to study in, or the master's degree I was trying to pursue, were in just 3 schools. That's Harvard, Stanford, and Vanderbilt University. And these are like top schools. I remember telling my parent about it at that time, like, how do you want to get into, who's going to pay and stuff. I didn't even know I was going to pay at that time, but I knew about scholarships at that time. So while I was running Lenira, one thing I was doing at that time was I was documenting all that I was doing. And I remember we wrote a white paper at that time about what we're doing in Africa and everything. And people are really interested in Africa, trust me. So if you're here right now and you're doing something unique, maybe you own a startup, or you own something that you are doing in regard that has reference, or has something that's applies to Africa or whatever, the continent, people are really interested in like learning more about it. And yeah, so anyways, I wanted to come to the US to study to get a master's in education technology at that time. So I applied to these 3 schools, and fortunately for me, I got into Vanderbilt University. One thing, to study leadership and organizational performance. So one thing I would say really helped me was my statement of purpose. I spent, I think, more than 4 months writing my statement of purpose. And the reason was because I was planning to get into Harvard Graduate School of Education. That was my goal. The other 2 were just so that if I feel, I could get into any of them. So I would say spend so much time on your statement of purpose. You're writing to human beings, especially if you are going for an MBA, or you are going for something in humanities, or or, you know, leadership or management, I would say spend most times on your statement of purpose. It will really, really speak a lot. I spent so much time. I was writing my statement of purpose as though I was going to the Harvard Business School. So that's one. I would say the next thing is recommendation. Try to, so at the time when I was working at Lenira, I started working in, I had a partnership with an educational technology company here in Colorado. I actually worked with the organization recently, and at that time, I was just volunteering for the organization through my own organization in Nigeria. And when it was time for me to apply to school, I just reached out to the executive director. We had not spoken before, but she had been seeing my work, you know. So I reached out to her that I needed a recommendation. She went to Harvard University. So I told her I was going to Harvard, and, you know, and immediately she saw all I'd done. She saw the pictures. You're like, oh, wow, this guy, you know. And fortunately for me, she had some people at Vanderbilt University, and she wrote a very good, I mean, that was how I got a statement of purpose from somebody that went to Harvard University. So focus on your recommendation. I'm not saying you must get the best people for your recommendation, but sometimes you can use some funny stuff to like get people to write statement of purpose for you. So try to get very good people to write statement of purpose for you. Then I would say one other thing I think really worked for me was the studying the culture of the school. So I moved to my MBA. So once I was done with my program, Leadership and Organizational Performance, I wanted to go for my MBA. And I think one thing I did was to like study the schools I wanted to attend and really like study their culture, what they are looking for and things like that. So I think I would say spend so much time reading about the culture of the organization, things that they really care about. Different schools care about different things. So you want to look at those things. And when you're writing your statement of purpose, you want to write those things based on the statement of purpose. And sometimes they will call you for interviews if you are coming for the MBA. You probably want to say things that are aligned with what these institutions are doing. I don't know if I'm out of time right now, but there's one more thing I'd like to add here. While I was running Lenira, I got several awards. Like I became an Obama leader, and I got some couple of awards that were really good at that time and really made me stand out a bit when I was applying to those other schools I spoke about earlier. So if you have awards, if you have and don't say an award is small or something, it's just the way you frame it most times, you know? So if you have awards from schools, if you have something that's you've earned in one way or the other, you can write it. And just with an award I got, I think it was the award, I don't know, but I think it was the award. Just with an award, I got like this, I got a scholarship that covered almost all my tuition and health insurance and everything at my first university. So, and it's something it's a master in education, you know? So, yeah, if you have things like awards, write something you've written, white papers and stuff like that, you can also add it to your application. They actually speak a lot. Well, I think if you're able to focus on all I've talked about, trust me, GRE, I didn't get a very good GRE. I studied chemical engineering, but I didn't get a very good GRE because I didn't prepare for it, trust me. I don't want to say it because I'll be ashamed of myself, but trust me, it's all about the GRE. And yeah, I got very good scholarships. So don't focus all your attention on the GRE. Focus your attention on what you have right now. But please do your GRE very well, but it's not about the GRE. So I don't want to spend people's time. So I would love to stop here. If you have questions, you can share questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nosa. A lot, is in your mouth that, you want to, tell us. So, now, having heard from all the speakers, so it's now over to you to ask your questions and, pour out your mind and let the professional handle it for you, Let them clear your doubts, giving information, the right thing that you need to do. So from the Zoom, I'm just going to read a question here. So, and I would like to spotlight all the speakers here. So there's this question that is coming from Harvis. It says, please, my question is, for writing sample, what if I am corresponding author? Is it okay to be a corresponding author? So anyone can just answer the question.
Yeah, I think we answered that question in the chat. it's always desired that you are the sole author for any material you want to submit as a writing sample. It's just about you. They want to know your writing capability, not of your co-author or any other thing. So I think that answers it in a nutshell. If anyone else has something else to add.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So let me just go ahead and read the questions coming from here. Okay, yeah, the question has been answered. I was just trying to come up from the top questions. So, how about those that are switching careers entirely different from what we did at undergraduate? What's our fate and how do we go about it? Anyone can please answer the question.
Yeah, I think I'd like to jump on that. So I told you I had my first degree in chemical engineering. Now I'm doing something totally different, leadership and organizational performance, now master's in business administration. One thing I'll just say is when you are moving to a different career, try as much as possible to have supporting documents to show that what you want to do now, what you are changing to, you are already doing it. And maybe if it's white paper or you are already starting, maybe you're working on a project or something that is related to that thing. Yeah, you can show. For example, I was doing something in education technology, which was related to like leadership and organizational performance and what I wanted to do, what I want to do after school and stuff like that. So in a nutshell, what I would just say is have materials and things that you are doing right now that looks like almost similar to what you plan to study that's totally different.
Thank you so much, sir.
I would like to add to what he said. Okay, so this part is like big for me, and I told Victor like he should add it to his consultancy services. Now it is not so much about you coming to the US to study for your master's and your PhD, because whatever you're studying, it's going to be over maximum 5 years and you're going to be entering the job market. So what are you going to do? If you're doing something that you're no longer interested in, or say, for instance, you studied a course that is like really not viable in the job market no more, you have to be, now you're applying for master's and PhD programs, you must be intentional. And I think that for most of us, it's okay for you to change your entire focus, because the job market here is, well, I don't know about Nigeria, but I know when I was in Nigeria, the job market here is totally different from what obtains in Nigeria or from any part of the world you're watching from. When you grow, say for instance, I like to use myself as an example. So I came in from my master's program. It was a 2-year program. And when I finished the program, it was difficult for me to get into the job market. Oh, and I need to mention also that when you finish your master's program, if you're in the non-STEM path, you only have 1 year for your OPT. 1 year is too small, it's too short, and it will finish like in no time. So when you're coming in for your master's program or your PhD program, you must choose, like pick a course. It's not so much about you coming in. You must be intentional about what you want to study, what you want to do after you graduate. So for instance, like he said, he did chemical engineering and he decided to change focus. For me, I decided that I was not going to continue with my initial research interest, because I know that when I graduate when I finish, I might not get the job and what I desire. So it's okay for you to change your career, because look towards the end, you will graduate. No matter what you studied, you will graduate one day. And when you graduate, what job will be available for you? So I really don't know much about those of the sciences, but I know some of us are interested in our research interests are things that they're good, like they're very nice, but they might not be something that is financially viable in the job market when we graduate. You might want to consider you might want to really consider taking up something that in the next, say you're entering for your master's now, you'll be graduating in 2 years. Would whatever you're studying, would you get a job when you graduate? Would you be able to find a place for yourself in the industry? Or because many people graduate and then they are forced to go do a PhD. Some people finish their PhD and they have to do a postdoc after, because they're not finding an industry job that is related to what they're studying. So it is important that now that you're applying for grad school, you're asking yourself the job questions, because let us be honest with ourselves. It's not about the master's and the PhD. It's about the job. It's about what we have, what we will get like when we graduate. So thank
All
you.
right, all right. Thank you so much, man. We're gonna be so constrained of time. So if you have a lot of questions that you want to ask, please visit the website vicadeconsult.com and book an appointment. You will be tutored, you'll be put through like working one-on-one with a professional. You know how it's gonna be. So because there's a lot of questions that we can answer, but we can make an appointment with you and follow you up on that platform. Also, we have a question here. Please, I need more light on recommendation letter and how it should look like. So I think that question, it can be more answers if you have like one-on-one section with you. We can put you through, and we can give you samples and work with you one-on-one, and that's gonna be the best answer for that. So please, I need some light on masters in law. I'm a graduate of law. Thanks in anticipation. So anybody want to answer the question?
Yeah, I think I already answered peace in the chat, but just in case you missed it. So I do know few people who have gotten LLM, like law, masters in law scholarships, but in my opinion, they usually don't get like a funded offer like we would get, where we're helping a professor with research or something, and then we get paid monthly. So what I've seen a lot of people who studied law do is they come to the US to study something in the social sciences or in the humanities, like maybe a master's in criminology, master's in sociology, because in sociology we do stuff related to law. So that way you can be assured that you will get a funded offer, like full funding, monthly pay, health insurance. Then after their masters, usually by the time they're in the US, they start gathering information on, if I want to be a lawyer in the US, what are the steps I need to take? So the trick is to come in first and do something that is close to your field, which is law. And then while you are in that program, you start asking around and making your findings to be able to practice law in the US.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody want to add to it? But I know because of time, so let's go straight to this next question. How easy is it for someone doing a different course from undergraduates to get funding? So this is about funding. So anybody just want to talk about funding?
Okay, I'll just say one or two things. So I think funding sources, if you look at the source of funding, like you said earlier, you have the teaching assistantship, you say that you get a teaching job. So when people ask, oh, how do I get scholarship in the US? I say most people don't come to US through scholarship, because if it's scholarship, you don't work for it. So you either get a job as a teaching assistant, or you get a research assistantship job. So that is, we teach undergrad, you get paid for that. That's when you get that, you have your tuition being waived, and you get health insurance benefits. Also, if you have a job with a professor as a research assistant, that can also get your tuition waived. So, and also if your application is very outstanding, you can get fellowship. So that's another source of funding. So you go to the website. I think there are a couple of websites you can use to search for fellowship. But I think might be limited to international students, but people still get fellowship that would add extra bucks to the teaching assistantship that they get, or the research assistantship. So you want to go on the website of the school or the program, and you search for the fellowship available. People also get maybe like grants, but that I think those are like small added money to whatever you get from the school. But basically, majority of people come in with the teaching assistantship funding or the research assistantship funding. And for a lot of PhD programs, you have this funding available. The reason is that, for instance, I'm doing material chemistry. So you are needed. So the professors can't teach all the undergrad. So they need you to grade, they need you to teach, they need you to support them. So the funding is there. So you just need to give a good application. if you do that, you should get funded. Oh, that's answered the question.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Right.
Okay, you have something, Mr. Lukman?
Yeah, if I can possibly add a couple of things to what Funde just mentioned. So he stated it out, TA, GA, or RA, fellowships. One thing to keep in mind is time to apply is also very important here. Time to apply. Some schools have different deadlines, priority deadline, blah, blah, blah. And if you possibly miss one, then that limits the chance you have in securing funding. So it's very key. And of course, you can actually get all of those. None is mutually exclusive, that maybe if you get TA, you cannot get RA, if you get ARA, you cannot get TA. And also some fellowships are really not out there for you to say you are applying for on your own. Using my own example, my own case, as for an example, when I did apply, of course, early priority, I did submit an application online. I'm talking about the current school I am, not others I applied to. So they awarded TA, they awarded RA, and they awarded fellowship to me. So the fellowship has to do with the supervisor I wanted to work with nominating me for a fellowship I did not have power to apply for my own. The department also nominated me for one. I also did not have power to apply for my own. So there are some you can't just apply for, except maybe your department. So study well those information, and of course they will tell you if you apply by so date, you may not possibly have opportunity of being nominated for some fellowships or for some TA duties. Yeah, so it's quite key. Timeliness, don't sleep on it, submit your documents on time, don't let your recommenders maybe miss deadline. You also, if you have to report your test scores, report it on time. So those are actually other things to take note of while applying for grad school, because you might have 340 over 340 in GRE, 120 over 120 in TOEFL, your CGP 5 over 5, and maybe your recommender just missed deadline by 1 day, or your test score didn't come in before a particular day. That can actually mar your chance of getting any of this funding they are talking about.
All right, thank you, sir. I know we have like 79 questions here, and I don't think we're gonna get over everything, but maybe we've answered your question by the way the speakers are speaking. So there's another one that the question says here, please, I need a guide on how to get PhD admission. What I would just say to that, I just want to read every comment, every shot, because you are so important and you're valuable. That's why we get to treat you professionally. So with this one, if you need a guide, like, if you need a mentor, please just click on that website and book an appointment with VicAde Consulting. I just want to read another one from Bolanle. Does statement of purpose have titles and reference? I think anybody just want to talk, just 1 minute on that, please.
If I can possibly do that. So it depends. It depends. Generally, no reference generally. But I wrote one that I actually cited references, based on the question I wanted to answer and who has worked on it. So I did that and I got it. So there is really no hard and fast rule, but by and large, just write your thing, no references. But you can actually do if you have the need to.
All right, thank you. I've seen a lot of. Okay.
I want to add. So thank you all for coming. It's been a pleasure. For the issue of the references, I think they care more about your story, your statement of purpose, what you want to do. It's not a research paper. You're not trying to prove a theory or something like that. They care more about your story. As the name implies, it's a statement of purpose. Like, what is the purpose for which you are coming into the university? What do you want to do with your degree? Why should we bring you on as a student? What are the indications that you will be successful later in life and you will be one of the alums we will be proud of? Those are the questions you need to answer. And you're also answering the question of how prepared are you for grad school? Do you have the do you have what it takes? Do you have the background? Your transcripts will speak to that. And you can also touch on it when you have special projects you have done, especially when you are pivoting from something like chemical engineering that my friend Nosa did. He ran a company called Lenira. Lenira was a company like Coursera, like an online platform for learning. He's one of the co-founders, and he was able to use that story of working in something management related to apply for a master's in business administration. That's an MBA. So it's important that we recognize this. And yeah, I think that's all. We can continue, Mr. Femi.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, VicAde Consulting. That's the man talking to you. So please click the website and get a lot of information. You need help. I also need help. So get help. So another question is coming here. There's some questions that say I'm interested in master program in US. I have OND and HND respectively. Just 30 seconds. Any speaker can just go on that. HND or OND, please.
So, okay. So to get a question, he has OND and HND?
Yes, can OND or HND get like maybe master's program here in America?
Yes, I think you'd be surprised that a lot of things happen. So you can't rule out any possibility. That's what I've learned so far. So I just have a friend just came into our program this fall with HND. But their process, so she has to convert standard transcript to the WES to evaluate a transcript to convert it to the convert courses to the regular, convert to a bachelor equivalent. But anything is possible. So you just need, as you rightly said, that is why these services are available. So you need those information. So if you have that about yourself, if you can get in, ask questions. Anything is possible. HND can get in. Lots of people have gotten in.
Oh, right. Thank you, sir. So there's this question saying I'm interested in financial technology for MBA, and I have been finding it difficult to choose a school because most schools I have searched for don't have the course that I do. And please, Tennessee. So what I would just tell you is book an appointment with us. We help you out with that. So also there's a question here that's after the last speaker, okay, sorry. Just how can I apply for PhD program with just my BSc, and also what the next thing to do after school search? How will I apply for scholarship? Everything will be hand over. Everything will be taken care of by, if you just book an appointment with us, they'll put you through, because there's a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of process to take, and information you need to know, because if you just made a mistake, you may just give up. But one thing also, we're not just saying book an appointment with us. We need serious people. We need those who are ready, passionate, that they really know what they want. Not just I hear this, I just want to, because we have serious things going on here. We have schools, we have things that we want to focus on. So we want to work with serious people. So if you're contacting, if you are sending a message, so make sure you are you're serious and you know what you're doing. So also let me just read these questions. I'm a bit lost. Please, how do you get to the professor before applying? Maybe someone can just answer this one. How do you get to the professor before applying?
If I can chime in just a little bit on that. After getting the school of interest, go to their website, the program website or program page, read through the faculty page. You decided on your own, okay, I want to study ABC for my research area. Look for those who have stated ABC as their own research area. Read further. Some have said, I'm retiring. Some have said this and that, but for those are still in active service, email them, write them, very well composed email, courteous email, and requesting for supervision, requesting for mentorship, and attach possibly maybe your CV at the initial stage, maybe just your CV. And if requested, they will be accepting new students. I mean, you might get response. Some might say, well, sorry, I don't have anything for you. Some say, sorry, I'm working on something else. Do you want to do it? Yeah. So it starts from there. Like many of the speakers have said, be intentional about it, get to know the school and the faculty page. You start from there.
All right, thank you. Just to let you know, this is live on YouTube. In case you miss any section of this, please, you can go back on YouTube and watch it. And also, there's a question here. My undergraduate project is not in any way related to what I wish to do for master and PhD. I think they've touched base on that. You can switch to anything you want. And, if you say, what can I do? What you can do, because we can't really answer everything, put you through right now, but I think you just have to book an appointment, to schedule an appointment, go to the website and look it up. And, you'll find solution to all your questions. So this one is coming from Deborah. Good day, everyone. I'm applying for PhD in molecular biology. Have been sending cold emails to professor, but the response rate is so low. What can I do differently? Anyone just want to touch base on that? That has been sending email?
Yeah, I think I answered her in the chat, but I will just quickly go, because right now I do have someone in that field. That's why I can say something about it, that is also trying to apply. So it's a bit normal for professors to not respond. Some of them are busy, or probably they're just not interested, or many reasons. But I think that there are a lot of schools. The reason I love US is because everything you need is in the US. You just need to be willing to search enough. There are several schools in that field, that microbiology, molecular biology thing, where the department clearly says that it's usually on their website, you do not need to secure an advice, or the decision on admission and funding is made by the admission committee, not from a professor that has funding, like a lot of schools would ask you to. So I think if you notice that you've been emailing professors and you've not been getting responses, you might need to change your strategy to only concentrate on schools that have that would say, oh, don't worry, as long as your application is tight, we'll consider you. I feel like that's the way to go, really, because there are several schools who will tell you that you don't need to secure an advisor. So you should really look into that.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Question here. It's a 106 question. So you see how questions are coming, and I know some questions has been answered because I was reading the question from the top. So maybe I just have to jump to the middle. But there's a question here. I just say, I study human anatomy. Please, opportunity lies ahead. There's a question. Any link for fully funded PhD scholarship? I think there is a link. There is everything available for you. Just click that link too. There's a link before on that website, VicAde consulting.com. Just click that link and talk to a professional, and is ready. We're ready to help you out with that. So there's another question here. Please, I need some light. Okay, so this question was directed to Mr. Nosa. He was saying, what do you mean by studying the culture of the school? So what do you mean by studying the culture of the school? I don't know, maybe you've answered the question on chat.
Yeah, just very fast. So you probably are applying to like the engineering department, and they talk about the way they teach, for example. For example, in the Harvard Business School, they have a way that they teach, which is unique to Harvard Business School. And they use the case method. Some schools don't use the case method. They use a different pattern. So that's like the culture of the university, right? So you want to write your statement of purpose. You could say, oh, I like the case method. I went to a place, maybe Lagos Business School somewhere, and they used the case method, and I loved the way they used the case method. So these are examples of culture, right? So look at the things that are particular about that department or something, or the school, then talk about it. Sorry, that's what I mean by culture.
All right, thank you so much. Okay.
Let me add, if you go through the website of the universities, they have keywords they use. So some programs will talk about empathy, the way they advertise their schools. When you see a word being mentioned several times, or some people, it depends on the program actually. So like for a master's in social work, a school may talk about how much they care, we care. So when you are writing your SOP, be sure to sprinkle some of those words in there. Make sure what you're saying aligns with the values and the culture of the university. You can get a very good idea of the culture of a department or of a school by going through their websites. And not every school is going to have a defined culture like that. But for the schools that have, it's something you can definitely do. And it actually helps to boost your it helps to boost your application. It may also be the culture of the area where the school is in. So like Boston has a culture, Knoxville, Tennessee, Knoxville has a culture, and somehow, for some of these schools, these cultures influence the education in the universities themselves. So for example, in some universities, they talk a lot about, most universities talk a lot about diversity and inclusion and equity. If you're applying to a school like that and you're trying to do a master's in something related to that, you need to mention this a lot in your application. You need to emphasize how much you are passionate about something like that if it is related to the course you're about to study. So it shows that you're in tune with the culture of the university, basically. So I think I guess that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Mr. VicAde. This is a question which is directed to you, sir. Is VicAde consulting free, or should I expect some sort of charges for the mentorship? I think maybe the question, can you answer the question? Oh, please unmute yourself, sir.
You're muted.
I am so sorry. I was already talking. Yeah, I said this is a very, very good question. And the webinar essentially is to see how best we can help contribute to society by providing high quality information. And we have a more individualized or a more personalized service that we offer to people, as we mentioned, in terms of career counseling, school search, mentoring for tests and resume writing, SOP, all those things. So we offer these things as a consultancy, and definitely there's a fee. The webinar is not about the price. You know, when you are ready or if you are interested, we have a website. Just go there, book an appointment with us, or email us and tell us. Go to our email, vicade.consulting@gmail.com, and indicate what you want. We will have, you know, a session with you, and we will send you the invoice. So it is definitely this is one of the free things that we are providing. Hopefully, we will be able to have a webinar, you know, sometime next month or in 2 months' time. So we try to give back, and we also recognize that, you know, we have to give individualized services to people that take a lot of time and effort, and those things are going to cost money. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. There's this question. I know maybe has been answered from Shiamaka. Good evening, everyone. I study sociology from my BSc, and for my master, I want to go into medical sociology. I think we have one of the speakers that studied medical sociology. So, but the school offering this course, I say, okay, but schools offering this course in USA are very, I can't really get the question. So that the schools, maybe they're very small. My student transcript as my school, hold on a second, please. So yeah, so maybe she just want to know more about because I can't really see that question. I was just trying to read it. So please, can you just tell us about the sociology, medical sociology, if you just have a chance? Just 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I saw a question. I think she was saying that there's not a lot of schools who offer medical sociology in the US. And then she was asking about how to get our transcripts. I did answer her though on the chat. So there's only one school in the US with a Department of Medical Sociology, and that's my school. So I understand what she means, but in almost every school you find there are sociology programs, and they do have areas of concentration in health sociology of health. It's actually the same with medical sociology. The name is it's just that where medical sociology in my school is a proper department where all the professors there do medical sociology. The sociology of health programs he or she would find would be pure general sociology programs where some of the professors major in health sociology. So I don't believe that there is not a lot of schools that do health sociology. There are several of them. So I don't think he or she would have issues with that. They just need to stop looking for medical sociology and then start looking for sociology with an area of concentration in health. And about the second question she asked about transcripts, that our school doesn't give student copy or unofficial transcripts. The way I did mine was I was serving, and then I told my boss at the teaching hospital that I needed her help. So I just put her address and requested for transcript to be sent from Uniben to my boss's office. And so when she got it, I just picked it up. She just told me to come pick it up. And so that's a way to go about it. Find a school, a workplace, a family or friends workplace is something where you have access to, and then tell your school that you need your official copy sent to that place. Then you can just pick it up and start using that as your own personal copy.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. In applying for PhD program, does one need transcript only for MSc school or also for undergraduate school? Just answer. What's just a quick question? Quick answer, please.
I think you need transcript for all post-secondary education you declared in your application. If you declared OMD, NC, stuff like that, you will be asked to provide transcript for it.
All right, thank you so much. What is the prospect for an architect to practice in the US with BSc in architecture from Nigeria? You have a great opportunity to practice architecture here in in US. So that's just want to answer that question because of the time. We are rounding up very soon, and because of the time, so we'll not be able to go into all these questions. And I know the speakers are having a lot of schedules, things to do, and we don't want to really waste much time. So like we have said, book an appointment with us right away. There is a help, waiting for you. So only way you take action, only way you just book an appointment, and we are ready to work with you. So I will just go over to with all the speakers. If they have anything like randomly they want to tell us before we end up this section, please, anyone can just volunteer, just anything you have like a wrap up to end this section.
Okay, so I have a special guest here. He's going to speak for a few minutes and he will introduce himself to us. So this is a blessed webinar. We have Mr. Tunde Blessed, and there's a blessing beside us right now. Thank you, Mr. Joel. Please introduce yourself.
All right, thank you, Victor. My name is Joel Omage. I'm based in Boston. I currently work in a biopharmaceutical company. Novartis is the name. So I'm a research scientist anyone. I did have my master's degree in chemistry at Western Kentucky University. So of course, I believe the speakers have spoken very well about admission into any of the program of your choice in the United States. So briefly, I would just like to just add, especially for those of you who are interested in the sciences, maybe chemistry, biology, you don't have to I just want you to have belief, whatever you have, whether 2-2, 2-1, just be positive and then shoot your shot, One of the schools I would like to recommend, I don't know if you guys allow that here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I usually do this, I recommend schools too. I want you guys to look at some schools, in the South, schools like Western Kentucky University, for example. I'm like an international, what do I call it now, advocate here for Western Kentucky University. I kind of recommend students, with potential to them. And so I'm just going to do the same thing. So you guys can check out their school, even though you have 2-2, in chemistry especially. You can also reach out to me, through Vito, for those of you who are interested in chemistry. I'll see if I can put in a word for you guys. So don't lose hope, even though you came out with 2-2. There's hope for you guys, So just be positive. I did had my degree in chemistry, and I was like, oh, this is like a small school. People were like, you can't get into top biopharm, coming from schools that are not like Harvard class or MIT or whatever you think. But when I got up from that school, I went to Vanderbilt, which is a big school in the South. I worked there for almost 2 years. And then after that, I'm in Novartis today. So just be positive. But the first step is to come into the US, I think get your transcript ready. That is the first thing. You don't have to wait until you're ready to apply before you start applying for your transcript. Especially as the way things are in Nigeria, it's kind of crazy, especially with the ASU strike. I don't know if this is just Nigeria's prospective student, but if you are based in Nigeria, you need to start applying for your transcript as soon as possible. I finished from Univ anyway as part of my introduction. and I studied biochemistry. So start applying for your transcript as soon as possible. The GRE is important, but it seems like many schools don't put so much value on GRE. I have a friend who had 325, he applied, but what I'm saying, you can have the GRE, but that is not, even though you don't have GRE, you can also apply, so you don't have to like, oh, because I don't have GRE, I can apply. Because right now as it stands, time is already fast approaching, for you guys to put in your application without GRE, you can still go ahead and shoot your shot. There's a possibility that you can also get admission. Yeah, so thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can reach me through Vito.
All right, thank you, sir. It's a great pleasure to hear from you. One of the speakers, anyone having things to wrap up before we end up the session?
Yes, I was just going to add to what we said. So when selecting the school, so I would say you want to put the schools in 3 categories. Schools that you don't want just want the Harvard. Harvard is so good, but the chance of getting into Harvard is very slim. So you want to look at schools that you need a lot of faith to get in. And you also want to look at schools that you are very sure of getting in, that you know that your credentials matches, like you look at the people there and like want to compare your credentials, that you are in the same level with them. And the third category would be the one that you wouldn't want to go to, like let's say like the third category of the schools you want to select. So 3 schools that you feel you need strong faith to get in, and those schools that you think you can get in, and the third category will be those ones that will not be on your first choice, on your list of schools that you want to get to. I think if you do that, you should be able to get a high chance of getting admitted into a good school.
Yes, from our great speaker, Mr. Tunde, thank you so much for today. And if anyone wants to talk, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think okay. Go ahead.
All right, thank
Now,
you. So I'm going to say it's also important. There's a timeline. Most schools have their application deadlines between, I think, November to January 15th, like the serious schools. So of course you can get schools that have a rolling admissions policy, and you can also get admission. You can apply as late as April, but if you are trying to get funding, I would really recommend that you apply as early as possible. That is important. Some professors are not going to reply, especially when you are writing them towards the time every other student is writing. It may be difficult for them to. So now is the best time to start contacting those professors. And if you need professional help with doing that, at VicAde, we provide those kinds of services as well. So writing professors is important to do that before all the other students in the world begin to write them. Remember, it's not just Nigerians or Ghanaians or Africans who are applying to these schools. Chinese students, Japanese students, Indians, I think these form the bulk of international students in the US. All of us are writing to these people. Nigerians, I believe, form the bulk of the international students from Africa who are apply to the United States. So a professor can get as many as 10, 20 emails every day. Why should they reply your email? So if you start looking for schools now, you identify professors now, and they have time to look at these things right now, you have a higher chance of getting your emails read and replied. So at VicAde, we provide these services. And before we go, I just want to allow somebody, I'm going to open the room. I'm going to allow everybody to be able to unmute themselves for now. I just want somebody, I will allow just 2 people. This is 7:44 p.m. We have to finish in the next 6 minutes. We didn't start on time. This was supposed to end at, sorry, this is 8:44 rather, right? Yes, I'm confused. Sorry, this is 3:44 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, that's 8:44 p.m. in Nigeria. I'm so sorry. I'm in a different time zone. That's why it's a bit confusing. So I would like to ask you people, what is the biggest pain points you have? What part of the application process, or what exactly are you most scared of in this process? So I would like to take that question, and if you can raise your so hold on, just type in the chat that you want to talk, and then I can tell you go ahead. So you can just share some of the things you are most afraid of, and then we will see how to proceed from there.
Perfect.
All right, go ahead. Okay. Mr. Adekunle, are you trying to answer? I think I will mute everybody and then I'll mute the person who wants to answer. You can raise your hand. Okay. Mr. Moon's mic, I will. Yes, please go ahead and speak. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, Adeyemo Oluwatobi wants to talk. So this is what's going to happen. Okay, good. I want to talk. So what will happen is, please allow us to be civil about it. We'll start with if you're Machuku, please, you can unmute yourself, and I've asked you to unmute, and then you can speak.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. The greatest challenge, just like you said, is funding. Funding remains the process of taking the exams. Like me, I'm a final year medical student in Namdazikiwe University. So I'm checking funding, what it will take me to fund both the transportation over there, then not just getting fully funded university, no, but funding the chief airports, all those stuff. So I'm like checking, is it possible? Is this possible? Is it possible? Or do I just give it up and stay where I am? So that's the greatest challenge for me.
Victor, I just want to jump on this very fast. See,
Sure.
Yeah, please. I'll just say, I don't know, but like you want to like not bother yourself about those things right now. The most important thing you want to do right now is get at the admissions and get some scholarship. Trust me, I was looking for like I think close to $20,000 when I was leaving Nigeria, just to show for my visa stuff and everything. And I don't want to start explaining how I got that thing, like partly for my family and partly for some other people. So, and the way it got to my family is just a funny thing. So don't bother yourself about those things. The way some of us came to the US, like me, the way I came to the US was just very funny. So please don't bother yourself. Just get that stuff, get it.
And if I can also chime in a bit, or following up on what Nosa just mentioned, I would strongly advise, possibly you don't, stay too much on saying it has to be this course, If it's not this course, it's no other course. Because frankly, you say you're in the medical field, you may be looking at public health or something like that. And the reality is many of the professional programs are really funded. I also came into the US, through a professional program where I was a bit lucky. I had 97% scholarship in tuition alone. So you may, if you are flexible to possibly just come in through a program that gives you funding, trust me, while you're in the US within your first year, you can say, okay, this is the field I really want to go. Then you can find you when you are already the assistant, you can know possibly how to navigate your way to get a program that will give you full funding. Like, it's something I experienced. So don't be so adamant on either this course or no other course. Possibly a close related course for you to get in, get your funding, get in. Then when you are in, you can also know of other programs even within your main interest that gives funding some other schools that possibly you are not aware of now, or that you may not be aware of now just because you're outside.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Joel, can I add something quickly? I think I saw something on a group, and that thing is true, because when I came here, it wasn't full scholarship. Okay, so what I did was I went to the international student office, and then I explained myself that this is my situation. I don't have enough to fend for myself. And then they were like, oh, there's an opening. You can join the international student diploma body. The point I'm trying to make is that there are always opportunities to get extra funding. I think it was even Toyosi that posted it on that group. It was like, you guys should not be scared. Just go and then ask questions. And there are different opportunities to get extra funding. As you were talking about the teacher. Don't worry too much about that too. You are going to get money for that. I don't know what I'm going to say to, but just have that positive, that mindset. I didn't have teacher too, to be honest with you, but I don't want to go into that. So when I got admission, of course, their friends, families, I didn't even know how the money came about. Eventually I came here with just, should I say this, with just $200. Even to get in was a big issue. But eventually I got myself sorted out, and today I am. So don't worry too much. If you really want to come here to study, focus on getting admission first. And then talking about if we are looking at professional courses like maybe MPH. I know people get full funding at Vanderbilt University. Someone just came, a medical doctor too. She has practiced for about 5 years in Nigeria. I just connected with her. So I think on Facebook, I said I like connecting with people. I asked her, how did you do it? And I worked at Vanderbilt. So she explained too. She didn't get full funding, but she sent them an email to the grad court. She was like, she won't be able to come. She's going to turn the offer down. There's no way she can help. And the next thing, after like a few weeks, they sent her another email that she has gotten a full funding, for her MPH program. So there's like a long, sometimes it doesn't come clear, but as the process goes on, everything just, comes along. So don't worry too much about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody asked a question on the group, and I would like to answer if we have a little time for that. So the person asked, they studied microbiology, and we're asking for pathways to enter into nursing program. I wanted to answer this question like for everybody, so we can all hear it together. Now, like I mentioned, it's not so much about you getting in and studying for the master's and the PhD. It's so much more about what you get when you graduate. I'm mentioning this. I want you to understand it, that you will finish your PhD and your master's program and you may be left dry. So you must be concerned about what you will do when you graduate. Now, for the person that was asking for the nursing program, if you have a bachelor's degree from like Nigeria or anywhere in the world, and it is very difficult to come into this, like to get admission here for nursing program, because it's very hard, but it's not that it is totally impossible. However, to make it easier for yourself, you might just apply for a master's or PhD program and enter here. You can do the master's program, because it's like maybe 2 years. However, maybe you enter and then you still don't get the funding and you really want to like diversify. In here, it's a clear path to nursing. When you enter in for the maybe master's program, you can always switch to another university. You can always switch to another program. So I'm talking here, I know there are some people here who are already in the US who are doing master's or PhD and might want to like move into another field. It is possible. So all you need to do is to do the prerequisites. Typically, there are just like a number of 6 courses like mathematics, psychology, anatomy, and physiology. Very simple. It's not that hard at all. You do the prerequisites, and then you apply for an accelerated bachelor's in nursing program. I did nursing. I was in the nursing program, so I know it's not that hard. And I have an arts background. I did not do science in my secondary school, like what they call high school here. Neither did I do it in the university, but I'm just saying that there is the possibility for you, whatever course you study, you can always switch into another field. So for the person that asked about the nursing program, yes, you can come in. Maybe it is very difficult to enter directly into the nursing program from Nigeria if you already have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, but it's not impossible. You can try. However, if you're here in a master's program, you can just switch to maybe a community college to make it cheaper for you, or you can do it in your university, do the prerequisites, and enter into a accelerated bachelor's in nursing program, and that's a pathway for you. And also for those who did computer science, for those who are interested in switching into IT, it's almost like the same pathway for you. You might not even need to do a bachelor, a master's, or a PhD in the field. It's better if you do a master's in like information science and data analytics and the likes, but you can also take some certification courses and switch career. So all these are options available, but this would only happen for you if you are inside the US. It's better for you if you're inside here. So get yourself in, and then all the ways will open. It will open up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think a lot has been said today. Do we still have anything coming from Mr. Vic?
Yeah, so we have to end. We should have ended about 30 minutes ago. I want to especially thank the speakers. First of all, I have to thank the participants. I apologize, we couldn't take everyone's questions. This is the free part of the consultancy. If you want a more individualized, personalized attention, please feel free to book an appointment at VicAdeConsult.com. We are here to help you, and we want to give you the best service possible. I want to appreciate Mr. Lukman. We can see them on the screen. Oluwaseun, Mr. Tunde, Ms. Toyosi, Mr. Nusa, and then our moderator, Mr. Babafemi, and we have Steven. Steven is the one behind the slides. He's an amazing person. We have Israel Babaride. He's also the one who designed the website, and he's been incredibly helpful in organizing everything. We got an email about the webinar. It came from Israel, and these are just amazing folks. We have other people as well on the next slide. Without these people, this would not have been possible. Victor Bella, Esther Adu, Esther Omoru, Shokwe Falano, Victoria Oladosu. The list is on and on and on and on. You guys really helped to publicize this webinar on your WhatsApp groups and your WhatsApp status updates. We thank you so much. And yes, on this note, I would like to say if anybody has any further questions, please feel free to book an appointment with us at VicAdeConsult.com. And thank you so much. We have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. To those in the US, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.